Hi, everyone. Welcome to episode 5 of the Dearest podcast. I'm Simone Canego,
And I'm Olivia Canego.
and today we are going to be talking about all things parenting, the good, the bad, the ugly. Obviously, I'm the parent, she's the kid, but I think she's got a lot of questions and critiques, maybe, about my parenting skills. So we'll see how this goes. I honestly think that looking at things, parenting, and I know you hear people say it all over the place, parenting is one of the hardest jobs. And it really is because there is no manual, there is no training guide, and okay, we're raising humans, so it's not like you guys really listen all the time. So it's hard. It's hard. It's the most rewarding thing I've ever done, but it's also been the most challenging thing I've ever done. And I don't think as a kid, do you find being a kid challenging?
Mm, I mean, I guess it depends on the day, but the overall, you were a kid once too. Hey,
Yeah, I know I
the
was.
act of being a kid isn't necessarily hard.
Right. The act of being a kid, but the act of being a parent is really hard. So, and no matter what you do, you feel like if you want a job where you second guess yourself all of the time, become a parent.
Mm, sounds great.
Yeah, I know.
Really making
No,
this appealing.
no, but it is really great. It is, like I said, it's one of the most rewarding things. Well, six of the most rewarding things I've ever done. I have to be politically correct, right? You like that? But yeah, it has challenges. And it's funny looking back from when I was a kid and my parents, everybody has a different parenting style. And my parents were from a different kind of background, right? My dad moved to the States from Israel. Well, he lived in Germany to go to
Mhm.
medical school. And then my mom lived in rural Pennsylvania, grew up on a farm. Her mom had a sixth grade education. Her dad worked in the coal mines in a local brewery. And I think they both had in their head what they thought a parent should be like. And that involved a lot of rules. And they were great parents. My mom's still alive. She's a great mom. But one of the things I remember from when I was a kid is that my parents would always say, "What will other people think?" And I'm like, well, why does it matter what anybody else thinks? It matters what I think, and it matters what you think. It, I'm not taking in like the whole crowd here to find out if they approve of what I'm doing. I don't think I really did that with you guys, though.
Um,
I
you
mean, tell
taught us
me if I'm
not to care
wrong.
what people think.
Okay, thank you. Yeah. As long as you're living a good life, as long as
Well,
you're,
yeah,
being a good human, it's not like destroy something and who cares. Um, not to that extent, but yeah, I mean, I think that there's so much judgment put on us these days that it's hard to move forward if you're constantly worrying about what everybody else is thinking.
yeah. I mean, I don't know. I've never really been a parent, and I think parents are really judgmental of other parents.
Mm.
Especially the ones that inflict or are very strict and have a lot of rules. I think they judge a lot. I mean, I'm not yet in that situation, and I don't hope to be for a couple of years. So,
A couple, let's say several. A couple is
isn't
like
a
two.
couple? Okay, fine, several. I was
Several is
thinking
like
like five plus.
okay, thank you. Don't scare me. Then again, I mean, I got married at 21. I was, had Jacob at 24. So,
I thought it was
but
23.
I was pregnant with him at 23.
Oh my gosh.
I know. I mean, it does take 9 months for it to happen. So,
Yeah, I know.
yeah.
I'm aware.
Um, but like from going back to my parents for a second, they were pretty strict, and I was really tough. Like I was as a teenager, I had this awful boyfriend, and it just caused a big rift in my family. And so my parents were always thinking that I was doing worse things that I was doing. And so I got in trouble for a lot of things I really didn't do. And it wasn't until later that it was kind of like an open discussion about here's what you thought I was doing, here's what I was really doing. But one of the funniest things was one of the things they never called me out on was drinking their alcohol. So I had one party at the house, and I would never do that again. That was like a complete shit show. It's like
Yeah.
people are vomiting on the carpet and spilling everywhere. And of course, like it was a secret party that hundreds of people showed up to. But I, we
I
drank
don't
their,
even know hundreds of people.
I didn't know hundreds of people either. They were friends of friends of friends. I mean, they're just random people showing up at the house. It was
Oh,
like
strange.
terrifying. And so obviously we drank the alcohol. And so what we did was we would fill the bottles up with water and put some food coloring in it because my parents really didn't drink. So we're like, they'll never notice. Well, they never called me out on it when I was a teenager, but when I was in my 30s, I think it was my early 30s, they took a trip to the Bahamas and they came back with some rum and they said, here's some bottles of rum for you. That way you don't have to fill ours up with colored water anymore. And I was like, you knew this whole time and you
Yeah, I'm
never said
surprised they didn't call
anything?
you out.
Yeah, I mean, they called me out on like things I wasn't doing. I was like, you didn't call me out on that, you know? And maybe they didn't even realize until later, you know, when they probably had a friend over and poured them a drink and they're like, that's water. um, but they did call me out on a lot of things, but they didn't call me out on that, you know. Um, they were real big on setting our house alarm at night to make sure I couldn't sneak out. And I was always trying to figure out how to cover the sensors so I could still get out the
Oh my
window.
God.
And we don't have that. We've never had that relationship with our kids. I mean, you know, if
Well,
you
that's
want to go
what.
out,
Do you think I'm an easy kid? I don't even know. Like,
mm,
none of us wanted to go out,
yeah.
or none of the older ones did, at least.
I think you guys have been really, I've been very lucky. You did not turn out like me. But you were, and I wasn't that bad, you know, but I wasn't the rule follower. Not that you were a rule follower, but you actually liked hanging out with us. And so do your siblings. Like, yeah, okay, well, they like being home. They're
Yeah, I
homebodies.
don't know
I'll
if they
say
liked
that.
hanging out with us, but like they liked being home.
Yeah, they
Uh,
like being home, which so that makes life so much easier as a parent. Like your biggest fear is when your kids are going out, you know, something's going to happen, drinking and driving, getting into someone else's car. But I can say for sure that I have had such good luck, good fortune with you guys not thinking that that was something that you ever wanted to do. What for me, because my parents weren't really open about these conversations, um, you know, you got into a car with whoever would drive you home. And as I look back, it's terrifying that, you know, I did stuff like that. And looking at you guys, I mean, I know you wouldn't. And I know your younger siblings wouldn't. So it's completely different.
I mean, yeah. I mean, I wasn't like an easy kid, but I wasn't rebellious. Not in that manner, at least. Um, I mean, you just raised a bunch of introverts.
Yeah, I
Um,
guess.
I mean, granted, I never threw a party at the house. But my older brother did. With your permission, it was never secret, never behind the backs.
Right.
And it was, I don't know,
It's so
not
stressful.
well,
Oh,
even now having people over to our apartment here, like, oh, I don't know if I can say this. I've had someone literally pee on my floor before. So
yeah, I mean, it it's like a lot of responsibility. Okay, parenting is a lot of responsibility, but having people over for a party is a huge responsibility. You know, you just don't know where which
especially
way
with
it's going to
like
go.
the high schoolers and the college kids that can't like legally drink. It's just like the ones, and especially with those who have strict parents that are like hiding, because like let's be real, I would say majority of high schoolers have had a drink of alcohol in their life, and I would say probably all college students have. Um, and some parents are not okay with that, and yeah, that's fine to not be okay with it, but you kind of have to understand at some point it's going to happen, and making it a shameful activity,
Mm.
that's where the danger comes from. So
Yeah.
making setting a curfew, even though you're probably sure that your kid's out drinking, but they still have to come home by a certain time in their car, well then your kid's going to get on the highway drunk.
Yeah, I mean, our response was that if anybody was drinking, we would happily come and pick them up, and we would pick them up from around the block. So, but honestly, it's really, I don't think it's even happened once where we had to
No.
go pick anybody up because You guys are just home or you come home early. I mean, even Ari, like he'll go out and he doesn't like to drink, at all. And so he's the one who will be like either the designated driver or he'll be like, okay, I'm out, I'm coming home.
Yeah.
And so, even when I think he's going to stay out for the night, all of a sudden it's 11 o'clock. He's like, I'm back. Like, okay.
The door's locked. Let me
I
in.
know the door's
Gotten
locked. So I
that
was
call
like, wait,
before.
yeah.
Okay,
I
who
was like,
locks that door? Like the door's not supposed to be locked, but
your
also
dad
Ari's
likes the
home.
door. Your dad likes the door. All of a sudden he thinks like it's a safety issue all of a sudden. So I don't really understand why, but that's what he
That's
does.
funny. My Google Home just yelled at me.
What'd it tell you?
I just
Be a
said
good
sorry. I didn't
be
understand that. It's
oh.
never activated like that before.
It's telling you to be a good kid. Yeah.
So
I mean,
you've been a parent for a while, but it's been a while since you've had like a baby.
mm,
What do you think is harder, babies or teens? What do you think? What age range is the hardest?
I want to say the hardest age range is like the 18 months to 3 years, maybe even
Oh,
four
that's not what
years.
I thought you were gonna say.
Yeah. I mean, the teenage years are definitely hard, but like in terms of 18 months to let's say 3 years, that is like the let me find something that I can really hurt myself on. So there's a plug, let me stick my finger in it. I can barely walk, but I'm going to climb onto the couch and then fall off of it, right? So like
That
it's
was
like
calling Emma out.
several of you have done that actually. But yes, I mean it's like it's danger, right? Like they're anything that looks cool, they're gonna, you know,
I have just started to realize through social media how breakable kids are. But for a while I was like, oh, they fall down and they get back up. But I don't know why I'm all over like my TikTok and Instagram think that I'm like close to having a child. So they're just like giving me parenting advice. They're also it's only weddings and like parenting advice. And one that I recently saw something was bed sharing and how dangerous that is for babies. That is not something I would have known. Is that something like they tell you at the hospital? How do I know that?
yeah, because in case you roll on the baby, I mean, you get tired, right? If you're nursing and um, they have all kinds of gizmos and gadgets now that make everything
Yeah.
so much easier. But like for me, like we had like a crib next to the bed, and
Mm-hmm.
so I would pick you guys out of it and feed you. And yeah, sometimes I'm laying down and I would fall asleep, and that like is the biggest fear. Like if you roll over on the baby, then it,
I did
it
not
can
realize that's what. Oh my God. Oh my God. They're really breakable. It's actually
yeah,
really scary. Oh,
they're
got
less
too passionate there.
yeah, really. They're not, they're breakable. They're not like really breakable. Like, I mean, sure, you're not going to drop your kid, right? I mean, like, well,
Hopefully.
hopefully not. But
Not on
yeah.
purpose.
Yeah. I mean, there's things. I mean, think about like how when I had Jacob, I was like sterilizing everything. I was like had to sterilize the bottles and everything
That's
had to be perfect. And then child number two, I'm like, it's clean enough. And child number three, I was like, it fell in the trash can. It's still good. And after that, it was like anything goes. Four, five, six, whatever you need.
mm-hmm.
Just you want to eat it out of the trash can? It's probably fine. It might be a little dirt. Just brush it off a little bit. But yeah, like you realize that they're not after you have one and you get through that period, you realize they're not as breakable as you once thought. You just have to make smart decisions. I mean, if
Yeah.
you're sleeping in bed with your baby, it's an increased risk. I'm not saying that people shouldn't do it because some people really, believe in that bed sharing, whatever, co-sleeping. But I just think for me, it was not the right option because, I flail in my sleep. I'd be knocking somebody out.
Ah, there's just so many things that I don't know how to do and that moms just do. I remember I still have a pair of squeaky shoes. I barely wear them, but I texted you one day and I was like, my shoes are squeaking. Can you fix them? And you said, yeah, of course I can fix them. And my band teacher, I was like, I wasn't in band, but the band teacher like walked up behind me and I was talking to my friends about that. And he's like, I love how your mom just knows how to do that. Moms are awesome. And I was like, yeah, you're right. Like, when do you make that transition from like, yeah, you're a normal adult. Oh, no, you're a mom. You can do everything.
Well, you try to do everything, right? You want what's best for your kids. And so I'm a fixer. I want to fix the problems. It doesn't always work. And so when I can't fix them, that's really hard for me. That's when I say if you want to, doubt yourself all the time. But because you do want to make, you want your kids to be happy, you want your kids to be successful, you want your kids to feel comforted. And so it's finding that fine line of doing all that, but still being true to yourself.
Yeah.
Because a lot of
Yeah.
people lose themselves in parenting. And I mean, I'm talking from a woman's perspective, but from a man's perspective too, you lose yourself in it because you're trying to do everything that you can for someone else, and you forget that, wait, I still have to live a life too.
Hmm. That I think is one of the scariest parts, is that at some point, like, you have to devote a good portion of your life to someone else.
You devote your life to someone else. It's not a
Yeah.
good portion. It's like every moment of my waking life is about and trust me, there's 5 million things on top of it, but it's about, okay, do they have everything they need for their games? And obviously everybody's older now, so it's easier. Like, okay, let me check. Did they get all their assignments done? Do I have
Hmm.
enough food in the house? Am I gonna be able to make all the pickups, on time? And so you're thinking about it constantly.
Yeah. And it's
You
not
know,
just like a checklist you can run through. You have to put a lot of emotion and thought behind things, because you could do everything on your checklist, but your kids still might have a bad day because their friend something said something nasty to them. And then what do you do then?
yeah, you're there to pick up the pieces. I mean, that's what you do as a parent. You're you're trying to manage like 50 different jobs at one time. That's basically what being a parent is,
Hmm.
including ridiculous things like well, diapers. Okay, that's one thing that, obviously you can get training on diapers, they you can
And
go
you
to any
actually,
class and
is
yeah,
there
you go to like
classes?
yeah, when you go to your childbirth class, they will show you how
They
to
have a
di
childbirthing class? Like, how do you
yeah,
know this stuff?
because when you go to
I
the
mean, you did
hospital,
it,
they
but how
tell
was
you.
I supposed to know that?
Because if you have a baby, they tell you these things, before
Who
you have the
tells
baby.
you?
The
Oh, okay.
hospital, your friends, your family, everybody it's just
Ugh. I
common
don't want to be
knowledge.
the first friend in my friend group to have a baby. I also don't want to be the first friend to get married. I'm just not for like leading trends. Like, it's not
I
for
don't
me.
really see that as a trend. I see that as just a life event. But okay, so you
I
hold
need
off
to like
then. I'm good
witness
with
like
that.
one first. Like, I need
Yeah,
to
okay.
witness like,
Yeah.
okay, a pregnancy up close. Because so I was the last biological kid, and Noah was the youngest when he was adopted. He was what, 8, 9 months?
No, he's 4 months. Baby,
Oh,
baby. Yeah.
okay, never mind.
Yeah.
Um, but I didn't like get to experience out of like the typical, I guess, baby things. Like, obviously there was like no breastfeeding, and I was young too. I was 4 or 5 when he was adopted, so I don't really remember much of it. But like, yeah, I have younger siblings, but I never like had a baby. I guess, yeah,
I
Noah,
know
but
it was
like,
a baby, but you were too little. That's why
I was
Millie
also a
says to this
baby.
day, she's like, "Oh, you should have a baby. You should adopt another baby." I'm like, "No, the shop is closed, girl. No." Trust me, I love children. Obviously, I have 6 of them, but
Yeah,
there's
you're at
comes a
like,
point where
you're approaching grandparent age. Well,
I'm,
actually, you could
oh
be.
my
Wait, not
goodness.
like you're old.
Oh.
Not like you're old. Okay, first of all, dad's a little old, but don't tell him I said that. But
Oh, he
okay,
listens to every episode, Olivia.
is he
He's gonna
really?
hear
Hi,
you. Yes, he
dad.
does.
Um, you have to. Okay, first of all, dad, answer my text. Second of all, Jacob's 25. Is he 25?
He's 26.
Oh my God, I don't know how old anybody is. Is Emma turning 22 or is she turning 23?
Uh, Emma's turning 23.
Yeah, okay,
Do you need
whatever.
help? You need any more help?
I can barely remember how old I am. Like, the other day I said I was 16. I'm 20, okay? Um, but wow, you made me lose my train of thought.
Yeah, you were talking about that I could be a grandparent. Thank you
Well,
so
Jacob's
much.
20. Okay, that's Jacob's 26. You had your first kid at
I
24.
know, I know. It's a weird thing because I still have 3 kids at home, right? To think that are still young, still
Well,
high
and
schoolers that,
I remember Amelia and I would talk. We were like, "Oh, we're gonna be aunts so young," because we thought Jacob was gonna get married. I don't know. We just
yeah,
hoped that he would get married young so that we'd have like a little niece or nephew.
they wanted a little
Oh,
baby,
Millie, you're
but
still an aunt in high school. How cool is that?
yeah. The weird things that you guys would talk about. But okay,
Yeah,
going back to diapers. You got distracted again. Going back to diapers. So, yeah, I mean, it was like again, as a parent, do you do disposable diapers? Do you do cloth diapers? There were so,
disposable.
well,
That
that
is an
was
easy
what
answer.
but a lot of people like cloth. I did not. I was like, disposable, it
Going
is.
back to episode number 2, when you shit your pants, you throw away the underwear.
Okay, true point. But you still worry that, okay, harmful to the environment, all of these things that, you do think about then as a parent or as a human. So, but yeah, I
Cloth
was not,
diapers are a first baby thing. Once you hit the second baby, you're like, I'm never doing that again.
yeah, I mean, never say never. I'm sure there are plenty of people that do use cloth for every kid, but
Yeah.
that's a lot
Good
of
for them,
work, man.
honestly. Good
Yeah,
for
it
them.
is. Yeah, it's a lot of work. And pureeing your own baby food. That was not me either. So disposable diapers were the right thing for me. And, whatever the canned baby food was, that was
I
what
think
worked for me.
pureeing my own baby food would have to come down to if I'm working or not. Because right now I don't have a lot going on my plate. So I hand make a lot of like things that you could buy at the store. Like I save vegetable pieces so I can make my own stock. Not because I have to, because I'm bored. So it would really just come down to like what I'm doing in my life.
Yeah.
But I
I
totally
mean,
like there's reasons that formula and pureed baby food in a can and disposable diapers exist. Like people are working parents. Like you need the ease of raising your kid without like it's already hard enough. It's
yeah.
hard enough to deal with all the emotions and then having to deal with all of like oh you need to eat and drink and you need your diaper changed. Okay, what do I do now?
Many, many times a day. Yeah, I think also for me the most important thing was you mentioned it earlier, but not to judge what other people are doing, right? Because I think that is becomes such an issue where other parents are judging like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, you don't make your own baby food?
And then
You
it
use the
impacts your kids'
jar?
relationships with each other because oh I don't want you going over to their house. They have fruit roll-ups.
Yes, we had fruit roll-ups. Yeah, I
No,
mean
we
it's
did
true
not.
though.
Don't even lie. We were
Oh,
a healthy house up until Noah.
okay, I thought we had fruit roll-ups. Did I have
No, I
fruit
would go
leather?
over to like, oh, we
Fruit,
definitely have fruit
fruit
leather.
leather. Okay, that was a little too healthy. Sorry. Yeah, but then I let it all go, and then you
Yeah,
guys all ate all the
Once
stuff.
Noah
I
was
know.
born and he just started, having his food issues, life got better.
Everybody got to. I posted a picture today that came up in my memories from 13 years ago. It was him and Ari at one of the local parks, and Noah was carrying a box of Cheez-Its, and I was like, "Oh, still his
Something's never
favorite.
changed.
Still carries his box of Cheez-Its.
They're
That's
extra
how it
toasty now,
works."
though. He's grown.
I know. I was gonna say he followed your lead on the extra toasty Cheez-Its.
Fire.
Um, but yeah, I mean, these things are hard. One thing I didn't realize that could happen was the diaper blowout. Okay. Now we talk about
Don't even.
adults shitting their pants, but when babies do it, it is like, you know, I remember for all of you it happened.
Is this a
So
common occurrence? Because like
yes.
I don't under. I thought it was like oh like sometimes your baby like might do that.
Well, the best was I'm just speaking from my experience. It happened
No, go
many
on.
times with you guys. I mean, I
Okay.
remember one time
Come on.
I forget where we were, but somewhere cold, and I forget what kid it was, but like you heard it happen. And they were in the car seat. So it
That
was
makes me
like,
laugh.
you know, if you're sitting in a car seat, it's got to find somewhere to go, right? And you're in a
Oh yeah,
diaper. So where is it going to go? It goes up your back. I think
down your
this
leg.
was actually, yeah, no, up your back, down
Wait,
your
does it go
legs.
both?
Oh, it went like up to almost shoulder blades. It was like explosive.
Oh
And
my
so
God.
I take, I kind of think it was Jacob, but if he listens, he might kill me for it. But okay, one of you guys out of the car and literally you were smoking because there was so much heat
That
coming
is
off.
so funny.
And I had to lay you down in the back of the car and clean you all up. And oh, the clothes were disgusting. But I was like, how is this possible? Like this tiny little thing, like literally has shit up to their shoulders.
Yeah, like what are babies eating? Like
Well, this was like just either formula or breast milk. Like for
that
me, I
what?
didn't make enough milk no matter what I tried, so I always had to supplement with formula. Another thing where as a parent you feel like you're failing, or as a mother you feel like you're
You really?
failing.
Because I really the idea of breastfeeding freaks me out.
Well, yeah, I mean it's kind of freaky when you think about it, but
Yeah.
it yeah, I mean I wanted to do it. I felt like okay, this is what I
Mhm.
should be doing. And I remember people were like, "Oh, but you don't give formula. Figure out a way to make it work." And I was like, "I'm tired. Like the kid's starving. Like there's
Yeah.
nothing I'm going to do that's it happened for all three of you guys. I'm like, okay, let's
And we're
formula's
fine.
good. For yeah. I mean,
Like
fine is relative, but yes, you guys are fine.
yeah, too.
um but yeah, I mean, there's all these things where you feel like you have to be the perfect parent. There's no such thing as perfection. Like we have to go through and we have to do the things that we feel are right for our family, that we feel are right for our children.
Hmm.
Um, but so it's
And
not someone
every
else.
kid's going to be different too. Like
Yeah. It's not someone
within
else
a
telling
family
you
and
what to
without a
do.
family. Like me and my best friend, we're going to be different, but me and my sister, the way you raised us or the way you had to treat us as babies is totally different.
Yeah. I mean, we had each kid was so different. Each one of you guys was so different
It was the
that
best.
the best baby,
Yeah.
Jacob.
No, he wasn't.
Yes, he was.
Liar.
You wanted it to be you, but no.
Yeah,
I mean,
obviously.
obvious. Okay, all three biological kids were really, I mean, that's where I'm talking about babies, but you guys were all relatively easy. Jacob was really easy to the point where I was working at the time. And so he was in daycare. And the woman who watched him in daycare said, "Don't have another one. You'll never have one this good." And I mean,
Fine.
you guys were really good too, but yeah, he was definitely the easiest, just quiet. I could take him anywhere. Fancy restaurants, he'd just sit there in his little car seat and
Yeah, and we can
smile.
barely take the younger kids to fancy restaurants now. No, I won't say that. We can barely take Noah. Millie will get offended. Millie, you were fantastic.
Yeah,
Um,
no. I mean,
but
he can go. He's just not going to eat. So it's like, okay,
yeah, and what's the point?
it's complicated. It's
Yeah,
complicated.
we'll get into
But
that one day.
it's really hard as a parent to you always feel like other parents are judging you. For example, um, when it comes to Noah, not so much anymore. I mean,
I
now that
feel like we need to
he's
preface this.
16.
I don't think
Okay,
we've introduced this. Noah is 16 years old, and Noah was diagnosed with autism spectrum disorder when?
not until he was 13.
Yeah, so not that long ago, but autism doesn't just randomly show up one day. So it's been a thing that we've noticed. His behaviors we've noticed since he was a baby. And it just took a while for doctors to diagnose him because he's incredibly social for a kid on the spectrum. Honestly, just for kids in general, he loves to talk.
He does love to talk, and that was like a big issue. To be like, oh, he makes eye contact. He's too social. I'm like, well, let me show you the 5 million other things that are happening, and they're like, no, he can't be on the
But
autism spectrum. I'm
and
like,
let
isn't
me
that
show you
why it's a
how. Well,
spectrum?
exactly. Let me show you how he socializes too.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, lining up the trains and chewing his blanket, all of these things were, I mean, we knew, and it was like trying to figure out how to be the best parent to him, right? So it
Mm-hmm.
wasn't just, so what worked with you guys did not work with Noah. It was
Absolutely
like,
not.
I had to learn how to be Noah's mom, not just a mom. Like I had some basic skills, but woo, those were put to the test. So yeah, but when it came to Noah, like because he didn't have a diagnosis when he was younger, that many people felt that he just had bad behavior. And I'm like, he's not, he's such a sweet kid. This is not bad
Yeah.
behavior. It's he can't handle the noise or he can't handle, he had a very hard time with transitions. Remember going
Mm-hmm.
from one station to the next in preschool or kindergarten, it was like the end of the world. And so parents would have comments, you know, about it. And it hurt my heart because he's a human being. He's a kid. I mean, they can criticize me, but to criticize a kid for anything is
Mm-hmm.
wrong. But it was really hard. And it was hard, I won't say it was hard among our friends. I think our friends were mostly understanding, but there are places that I was like, we're just not going to go because we're setting him up for failure, right?
Yeah.
And we're setting him up for kids to be mean to him. And I wasn't willing to do that. Obviously, you have to live, you have to learn how to interact with other people. And he gets that at school. And he's a completely different kid now. Like,
Mm-hmm.
he does really well in school. He's doing weightlifting, he's doing esports. He's really come a long way. um, but it was really hard having other parents criticize and just thinking like, you have no idea what we go through on a daily basis. Just being able to get him to brush his teeth, or when he was younger, just being able to brush his teeth for
Yeah.
me, it was like traumatizing. And all of these things that we never know what anybody else is going through. And but for some reason in parenting, people love to say, "Wow, this is what you should be doing." Really?
Yeah.
Really?
Like they love to give their opinion. Well, people love to get opinions, period. Um, but in parenting, it's probably the place that you most shouldn't give them unless they're asked for, unless someone is like, I don't know what to do, please help me. I don't think like they're trying to figure it out, and their kid is so different from yours. Like
I
every
re
kid's so different.
I remember we when I was pregnant with Jacob, we had some friends come over, and I will not say their names, but we had some friends come over, and they had a daughter who was, I don't know, 10 months old, something like
Mhm.
that. And we were going out to this nice restaurant, and she didn't like the idea of sitting down. And so instead of trying to work with her in that moment, they figured out what worked for them was to take turns walking her around the restaurant. So, and let me tell you, that was like anxiety provoking. We went home that night. I was like, I don't think I want to have a kid. I was like, I know I'm pregnant, but whoo, this
Yeah.
was really stressful. But that's how they chose to parent. Like, who am I to say,
And it
like,
works.
yeah,
Like that's what worked for them
yeah,
in that moment.
yeah. And I said to myself, I don't ever want to do that. That will never work for me because that's going to give me anxiety. And I'll tell you that you guys were really good. You were used to us taking you places and saying, this is where you're sitting. Like, here's some coloring books. Or, when you're that little, it was different.
Hmm.
But still, we didn't do that. We were like, we figured out how to make it work. And that's what worked for us. But that doesn't work for everybody.
Yeah.
And the most important thing is you just you know, don't judge because you don't know what anybody else is going through.
Yeah. I think New York is a little interesting. I've had a couple interactions with parents. Not speaking negatively of the parents at all. All of them have been lovely. I babysit a little bit here and I just know people with kids here. Um, but one of the things that I find really interesting and also a little bit judgmental is the preschool and the school process here. So in
Oof.
New York, essentially once your kid is born, you're getting on the wait list for the preschools and they interview your kids to get in. And I remember talking to one of your friends about it and how her daughter didn't get in because of like the way she colored or something ridiculous like that. Like she's 2 years old. Oh my God, you're kidding.
Just so you know,
But
you wouldn't have gotten in
oh,
either.
absolutely not. I can still not color inside the lines. Are you kidding? Too hard. Um, but it's just so competitive, and that's also what leads to that judgment. It's like, oh, you didn't get into that school. Your baby's two
Mm.
years old. They're not going to be successful. Hello?
But
Like
it's
what?
yeah, I mean it's true though, and I mean it doesn't happen here. I mean, I'm sure it happens all over
Yeah,
that there's schools
but not in the
where
circle. Yeah.
that people are like, oh, if your kid doesn't go there, then they've already
Mhm.
failed. It's like, okay, it's preschool, right? You're going to learn your colors, you're going to learn your shapes, you'll be fine.
Yeah.
ABCs, ABCs,
Preschool is just glorified daycare. No offense to preschool teachers, you're doing a great job, but for
Yeah.
parents, it is just like daycare.
You know, I
With fun.
loved preschool though. For me, I'm going to disagree a little bit because it's the socialization part of, education is every second of your day, right?
Oh
You're
yeah,
learning something as you go. And for me, preschool was really about having the kids, you guys socialize and see how to be able to interact and work with other kids and learn things and do things that I'm not willing to do at home. Like I am not going to take out a big box of sand and hide stuff in there for you guys to find and have sand go all over the house. I'm just not going to do that. I
well, that's
mean,
really fair. Like
we
I
did like
wouldn't either.
water stuff for a while, but I was like, this is getting old. Like this is way too messy. Do it at preschool.
Yeah,
So it definitely and that understanding that other people love you, I think that too, like having teachers who really care about you and seeing that beyond the family structure, I think is really,
yeah,
really helpful.
100%.
Yeah. Um, so think about like me as a parent, like, and this isn't, I'm not asking you to, don't feel bad about it, but like, think about how would you do things differently than what I've done? Like, what do you see that, what do you like of what I've done and what do you not like? What things do you like? Okay, if you had to do it over again, mom, you should have done this. Da, na, 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 na,
I don't think I would
na.
have put me in school so young.
Yeah.
I started school really young, like, and I'm still a year ahead. And not that it's like affected me detrimentally, like at all, but I don't think I would have done that. I just like not for any particular reason. I just don't think I would have done that.
And I'm going to agree with you. So at the time, it was a selfish thing on my part because the
I always say
preschool,
this, and you're like, no.
yeah, I know it was a selfish thing on my part because the place that you guys went was about 25 minutes from the house, and I didn't want your older sister to go and you not to go because then I'm like, okay, where am I putting you? Do I want to put you, do you want, am I going to have you go to a different
Hmm.
preschool? So she ended up starting school a year early. And when she started kindergarten, she was 4.5. So I agree. I think it's always better. I've learned over time that it's better to actually give your kid extra time versus push them ahead.
Yeah, I
Now,
agree.
you did great.
Yeah, I mean,
And
the only way I feel like it affected me at all was like, okay, I got my driver's license later than anyone else. That's a little bit embarrassing. And like kids would kind of be like, haha, you don't have this yet. Oh, you're that young. But then I'm like, I'm smarter than you. So like, okay.
oh, you're
Um,
funny. Yeah.
but
So,
like
okay.
now it's not a big deal at all. Like I know people younger than me and I know people drastically older than me that are in the same year at school or same year at university. That's just
Hmm.
kind of how college is. And that's how like the real world is too. Like once you get like to a certain point, no one really cares about like your age or at least your age in like the second digit of the year.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. What else? Lay it on me.
Huh. I don't
Because I mean,
honestly.
your siblings always have comments for me. Well, I should say Millie always has comments for me. When I'm a parent, this is what I'm
It's
gonna
just like
do.
I've thought through so many things and like I understand your reasoning behind a lot of it. Um,
Do you think I understand my reasoning behind a lot of it? I'm not sure.
I don't know.
Sometimes it's
I mean,
flying
I've
by the
come up
seat
with
of
a
my
reason.
pants. Okay, good. I'm glad you have reasoning for me. Yeah, but I see like I always love when Millie will say to me, even she said something even this morning, about my parenting, something that I was saying. She's like, I don't think that is how you should be doing that. I was like,
What is the well,
I
okay.
don't even remember. I was trying to think
It's
back.
because she's opinionated.
It was a
Good.
comment that I said in the car. She's like, you shouldn't be saying that because that makes somebody feel like this. And I was like, what are you talking about? But that's how her perception of it was. And so I'm like, okay, well, I see your point. And when you're a parent, you try that, see how it works for you.
I would have had all of the kids tested for ADHD much younger,
Mm.
and I would make Ari wear his glasses. That is the most annoying thing to me. He gets migraines because he doesn't wear his glasses.
Okay, it is annoying. And, maybe when he goes off to college, he'll be willing to do it. But
It's
like
just so simple. Like you have a solution, use it.
and he squints when he looks at, I'm like,
Well,
you're
yeah,
squinting.
like
He's like,
come on,
no,
you
I'm
have
not.
glasses.
I know. I'm like, wear your glasses. And he looks good in glasses too. Like,
No, yeah, he looks completely fine, and like I don't think anyone looks really that bad in glasses. It obviously depends on the glasses shape. I think that's really what does you in. I don't know where this comes from. If it's an embarrassment factor, if he's just like he just. I don't care. I don't want to. I don't want to see better.
yeah, he
Okay.
was wearing them for a while at school, and his teachers were like, he needs to be wearing them. And then he just stopped. And I I think it, I think he should be wearing them even playing on the lacrosse field. Like, I think that I was like, you're squinting. You're squinting to see the TV. You've got to be squinting other times. Like, okay. So, but again, he is turning 19.
Yeah,
So,
that's like a come on, Ari.
yeah, he's got to make that decision for himself.
Yeah.
Like I can, again, lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink. So, um, so those kinds of things are hard. Now, maybe if I would have done a better job when he was younger, instilling that confidence of, hey, glasses are cool or whatever, then maybe that wouldn't have been an issue. But I think the biggest thing to understand is that as a parent, I'm just doing my best. Like I'm really
Yeah.
trying, and sometimes my best is less than mediocre. But
Yeah.
I think you guys have done pretty well. Like I look at all of my kids. I'm so thankful that I have kids who are, trust me, they've tested me at many moments over time, but in general, they're good kids. I'm really lucky.
Yeah, I would say we're pretty good. I mean, not to say that at all we're perfect. Like we were not the family that you would like, oh, this is so calm and serene, and you
Oh
guys
my
all like wear
gosh.
button ups at the dinner table, and it's like passing the food around in such a pleasant manner. Meanwhile, at our house, it's like, Noah, can you please put a shirt on? We're at the dinner table. Oh my god. And it's
Our
like
dinner table is pretty chaotic. We
everyone
had
is
to,
talking at one time. When my
yeah.
boyfriend came, he was like, "Is this what every meal is like?" And I was like, "Yeah, you got to get used to it."
I know. I mean, like at least we interact though, right?
I
Like, I
know, and
mean,
it makes it a
so
lot of fun, honestly.
yeah, but it is pretty chaotic and it'll be interesting to see who among your siblings, well, and you, who has kids, how many kids they have.
I
You know,
think they'll have kids.
it'll be interesting to see because you just wonder when you come from a big family, it either makes you want kids or it either makes you say, oh my gosh, I will never do this. Um,
I
but
don't
I
think I'll
like
have
the
6 kids.
chaos.
I like
Yeah,
the chaos too. I was babysitting last night and she kept apologizing for how chaotic it was. And I was like, oh, this is literally nothing.
this is
Like,
like
you don't
a
even have a
chill
dog
day.
running. Yeah, you don't even have a dog running around.
Not to mention
Like,
four.
oh yeah. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, I definitely think I'll have kids. So um, I think it's in my cards. I don't know if I'll adopt or have biologic. I would, yeah, that is just like that's a figure out later thing, I
Hmm.
think. Um, but I mean, when I was like 15, I didn't want kids, but
Well, that's good.
changed. And that's like when Jacob was like in college, he was like, I'm not having kids, but now he wants to be a dad,
I know.
which is like
That's
so
like
weird.
shocking, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, not shocking, but yeah, I mean,
It's
he
just
didn't.
weird to like think like Jacob's gonna be a dad.
Yeah. And I'm curious how strict he's going to be. I think he's going to be pretty strict, like
It's
very
weird for me.
specific on food and, you
Yeah.
know, and maybe, I
I'm
mean,
not.
maybe that's one of the things that I look back at and say, like, I was too lenient with all the crap food that we had in the house.
But if
Again,
you
but
don't, it's just like, but then on the other hand, if you were too restrictive, then you could have formed like very like kids that have really severe problems with their eating and the way they feel about their bodies. So it's like you can't really look back at these events and say, what could I do better? Because either any situation, it could have gone the wrong way.
yeah, I mean, again, it's in the past. Like I
Yeah.
say that all the time that it's in the past. You can't fix it. You all you can do is move forward and think about how you can do things better in the future.
And I
And
think
I don't regret any of it. I don't look back and say if I would have done this, then this would have happened because you have
yeah,
no idea how it's going
no,
to
you
work
don't
out.
know.
It's really about doing your best. It's really about, and some days it's just about getting through the day. Sometimes that's the biggest challenge is that, is this day ever going to be done?
I
What
think a
else can
lot of the
happen?
times when my siblings complain about like what they would have done as a parent, I think they tend to forget that kids are really hard to change their minds. And they'll do what they want. So even if you were not buying junk food, they'd find it a different way. Like even if you were making them do this and they didn't want to, they wouldn't do it. Like kids will do what they want, but then they'll put the blame on you, even though you tried to make it better. And that's just like
Yeah,
kind of one of the things you have to accept as a parent is like, well, oh wow.
we have a friend who, well, one of our kids' friends, their parents are very restrictive on food and they don't get to have any kind of sweets and stuff at home. But let me tell you, when that kid shows up at a party, there's no game playing or anything. It's like she hits the food, she wants
Yeah.
the cake, she wants more cake. And so I do see that. I do feel like when you're restricting things too much, that, that becomes their whole focus. I had a
Yeah.
friend too that said that her parents never let her have stuff growing up. And so when she went off to college, that was like she binge ate everything in sight. And it became a really big issue for her because she didn't know how to find that self control because she kept
Mm-hmm.
on thinking it's going to go away, it's going to be taken away. And, that's a really hard mindset. I think one of our future episodes, we'll talk about body image and
Yeah, of course.
struggles. So, anything else about parenting?
I'm so nervous to be a parent.
Well, good thing it's not happening anytime
I know.
soon.
Can't be yeah, if I was having anxiety over something that was gonna happen 7 years from now, like put me in an institution.
Well, I mean, yeah, I mean, whatever it is, I mean, whether it's 7 years, 10 years, I don't know, however long, you're going to be a great parent and I'll be there to support you.
Yeah. please be. I'm not going to know what to do. My final thing I'll leave it on is that I don't remember if you know, but when we were kids, you and dad at one point said that you were going to sell the house, and that what you're going to do instead of buying a new place is that spend 2 months every year with each kid. You're going
Oh,
to house hop.
mm-hmm. Oh yes, this is still part of our retirement plan. We are going to house hop 2 months a year. We are going to sit in your living room, wearing our underwear. We are going to use the internet all day long. We are going to leave our cups and bottles and crap all over your house, plates on the counter, right next to the dishwasher, but not in the dishwasher.
Mm,
We're going to make sure that we are what you guys were when you were younger, so that you feel really comfortable and at home.
I will. I'll make sure.
That's our ultimate goal. So. Thank you so much for joining us today. We will see you next time for episode 6.
Yeah.
And actually, next week we are going to be recording together. I guess I'm going to come into your little room there and we're going to do an episode
And
together.
find
So,
another chair, I
so you,
guess.
I'll just sit. You can just sit on my lap, I guess. I don't know.
Oh, okay. That's great.
So, we're going to be recording from her apartment up in New York City next week. So, anyways, thanks so much for joining us, and we'll see you next
See
week.
you next time.